It's really hard to win a match when you start to play very well starting on the 70th minute, right? When you enter the match on the 70th minute, it's really hard for you to get the 3 points because that is what we did see in this match between Barcelona and Real Madrid. Real Madrid has beaten FC Barcelona 3-1, and to be very honest here, there are some things that I actually did like within this game that I want to continue to see going on for the rest of these next 2 or 3 games and for the rest of this month. And we're going to be explaining exactly what I do mean by this by the end of this video. If you guys do not have time to like really watch this whole thing, to basically sum it up, that team that we did see in the last 20 minutes that did include Ferran Torres, Ansu Fati, Koundé, Frankie de Jong playing as the central defensive midfielder, that team is what I want to see moving forward for the next 2 or 3 games. And so we are going to be discussing about that team again later down this video. So if you guys are new here, welcome to this channel. I'm happy that you guys are here. Welcome to this Barcelona family. I hope you guys do enjoy this YouTube channel. And so let's do this, right? What we are going to be doing within this video is talk about the first half and then move on towards the second half. The second half is going to be very, very important to talk about. But let's first talk about the first half, because look, Barcelona, if anything, looked more like Inter Milan of 2010 than the Barcelona that we're supposed to be seeing under Xavi Hernandez. Like, Barcelona were defending against Real Madrid with a low block, and they invited Real Madrid to come into their own half, and that really did surprise me in a way, because that is not what Barcelona is. It just told us that Barcelona were intimidated by what Real Madrid could potentially do. Because look, we saw a front three when it came to Real Madrid. We saw Vinicius, we saw Benzema, and we saw Valverde on the right wing. So you can see that there was pace between both wings. And I believe that is why Xavi Hernandez has set up his team to play within a low block and to invite Real Madrid in their half, which was very disappointing. Now, you could argue and say that is how football should be played, Kevin. Like, that is how every team should be defending. Like, of course, like when you face Real Madrid, you have to defend well and sit deep. But here's the thing, Barcelona never really had this type of approach when it comes to defending throughout this whole season so far. So why until today have we decided to play in this way? Like, why change your tactics? Why change your way of defending? Like, I would have never said that this is a problem if Barcelona were practicing this and like applying this type of idea since the beginning of this season. But we just started until today against Real Madrid to be defending like this. And that is a problem because I expected Barcelona to have problems on the field, because I did not expect them to become experts when it comes to defending in the way that Inter Milan did a few years ago. Barcelona were simply not in the condition to do so, which is why we saw Barcelona really suffer in the first 45 minutes. We saw Vinicius go on a 1v1 against Sergi Roberto so many times. We saw Alejandro Balde, unfortunately, go up against Valverde on a 1v1 many times. Now, let me tell you, Balde, when it came to Alejandro Balde, he played amazing. He did really solid for someone who was only 18 years old and starting in a Clásico. But again, it was very irresponsible for Xavi Hernandez to be putting these fullbacks in positions like this, because you never know what could have happened. Usually we saw Valverde sometimes pass through Balde. Usually we saw Vinicius, as a matter of fact, pass through Sergio Roberto so many times that led towards Real Madrid finding those opportunities. And so it was very unfortunate to see Barcelona act in this way, and never did I ever like really see Barcelona's front three nor the midfield line try to force a mistake from Real Madrid's back line, like at all. Like, if anything, they were trying to be way more relaxed and just wait for Real Madrid to bring the ball into the midfield in order for Barcelona to pressure. This is probably one of the reasons on why Rafinha and Dembele were very flat in the first 45 minutes. Like, they did nothing. And one of the main reasons why, again, they did not really do anything is because they were never really told to go and get the ball, to pressure, to force mistakes from Alaba or Militao. Like, yes, we saw Rafinha and Dembele try to make those runs, maybe try to make those crosses into the box, but nothing ever really converted between Dembele and Rafinha. There were many unsuccessful crosses, unsuccessful passes, and so we never really saw that vintage front three. Why? That is because, again, Barcelona were sitting back and we allowed Real Madrid to gain that rhythm in order for them to score. And it amazes me that Barcelona did not take advantage of trying to take shots from outside the box when we knew that Real Madrid did not have their A goalkeeper in the starting 11. And so we look at the first goal that Barcelona has conceded. It was the most expected type of goal for Real Madrid to score. We saw Vinicius just run over Sergio Roberto. Vinicius receives that pass, then he tries to shoot the ball. There was a deflection and Benzema arrives just in time to score off of that rebound. We look at the second goal and we can see that one of the mistakes that Barcelona did make did come through Eric Garcia. We saw a long ball go over Eric Garcia's head. Eric Garcia tries to touch it. I have no idea why. You never want to touch a long ball that's going over you because you don't even know what's around you. But he basically deflects collects the ball, it went straight to Vinicius. Vinicius receives the ball. You can see that Real Madrid were trying to build up on that play around the box, and then in the end we saw Valverde score. So it was very disappointing for Barcelona to concede in this way, for us to make so many mistakes, and then for us to question, where is our attack, where is our response? And so we go into the second half, and this is where things get very interesting, and this is where I would say, yes, I did see some things in this second half that I did really like and I want to move forward with. So we expected changes, right? Because clearly the starting 11 that we did see was not working. Like, no one was being reactionary on what Barcelona needed to do. When I saw this second half, when I saw the full 45 minutes, I started to understand exactly what Real Madrid wanted to do from the very beginning of this game. And again, what they were trying to do, and that is by trying to find ways to include Eric Garcia in Barcelona's defensive plays. Now, what do I mean? Real Madrid wanted to go through Eric Garcia most of the time. Every time they tried to attack, they read Barcelona well, because they knew that Eric Garcia is someone who is very easy to go through and he easily does commit fouls. And Real Madrid knew exactly that. Every time Real Madrid were in the box or outside the box and they had possession, they wanted to go through Eric Garcia. Every time they tried to distribute a long ball in the air, they wanted that ball to go straight to Eric Garcia in order for him to potentially make a mistake, because they knew that Eric Garcia does make mistakes under pressure. That is one of the reasons on why we even conceded many of our goals within this game. It is because of the errors of Eric Garcia. Now, I'm not going to be here and say that Eric Garcia is a horrible defender and that Eric Garcia should never ever wear the Barcelona shirt nor be in the starting 11, but Real Madrid exposed Eric very well. And that is something that we have to respect from Real Madrid, because they read Barcelona's defensive game very well from the very beginning. And they also knew that Eric Garcia was going to be starting because we did not really have options in that defensive line. And so one of the things that I would say, and I think that Eric Garcia really needs to work on, would be to how to defend under pressure, because Eric Garcia right now just does not know how to defend under pressure. He likes to either foul you, he likes to slide tackle you, he likes to step on your foot, and that is what we did see with Eric Garcia. That is one of the reasons on why Real Madrid found that penalty. That is because Eric Garcia was panicking and committed that foul in our own box. And so that is one of the reasons on why Barcelona could have never catched up and never really closed off the rhythm of Real Madrid. And this game was really calling for a defensive duo of Ronald Araujo and Koundé. These are two players who do not panic under pressure. When they are on a 1v1, they always make the correct decisions defensively. And so I just really wished that our defensive line was like Ronald Araujo as our right back, Koundé and Christensen as our center back duo, and then having Alejandro Balde on the left back position. I think that the game would have looked much more different. So we look at what Barcelona did in the second half, going back to their substitutions. Xavi Hernandez made a total of 5 subs, and you can clearly see that he wanted to keep his wingers refreshed, right? He wanted the wings to be fully firing all the time, which is why we saw Xavi Hernandez completely replace Rafinha and Dembele, two players who did not really do much, and we saw Ferran Torres and Ansu Fati entering the scenes. Alejandro Balde had an amazing game. I have no idea why he had to exit the match. I think that he should have continued, because you look at what he did at the age of 18 years old against Real Madrid. He handled the pressure well. There were two players that were always trying to pressure Balde in order for him to make a mistake, but Balde never made a mistake. He always made the correct decisions. He never lost the ball. So I wish that we saw more of him. And as a matter of fact, throughout the full 90 minutes, the only good thing that happened when it came to that defensive line was Koundé and Alejandro Balde. Those were the only two players that were playing so well in that defense. And they even carried some of that performance going into the second half. And then we also saw Gavi coming in for Sergio Busquets. I'm like, finally, right? Finally, we get to see a midfield of Frankie, Gavi, and Pedri. A 3-man midfield that many of us have been dying to see. And we knew that Frankie de Jong was going to be playing in that pivot position. That is what we wanted to see. And look, this is not a surprise. We saw this midfield of Pedri, Gavi, and Frankie perform so well. Like, why even play Sergio Busquets? This is a midfield that we should have seen since the beginning of this game. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but every time we do see Frankie now, and in the past 2 games, Frankie playing as a pivot, he's starting to grow and starting to understand what he needs to do in a position like that. Like, in those last 20 minutes, we played very well, and that is because for a very big reason. That is because we saw a midfield of Gavi, Frankie, and Pedri. Gavi bringing the intensity, who should always be starting moving forward. We saw Frankie de Jong always protecting the ball, intercepting the ball, and we saw Pedri organizing the play. is a perfect mixture of what Barcelona's midfield should be having. And then we saw Ferran Torres, right, moving on towards the attack. Ferran Torres always tried to look for Lewandowski, trying to get Lewandowski way more involved in the attack, because that was something that Rafinha and Dembele could not do. Ansu Fati was also amazing. This is why I do say that Barcelona's best left winger, it is Ansu Fati. We can no longer see players like Dembele on the left or Rafinha on the left. Those two players are meant to play on the right side. Ansu Fati has to be starting. We saw a glimpse of the prime Ansu Fati that we used to see, and that is one of the reasons on why Barcelona even found their goal in this game. We saw Ansu Fati take down about 1 to 2 players, putting the ball into space. I'm like, that is so Ansu Fati like. Passes it towards Lewandowski. Lewandowski takes one touch. That was a back heel towards Ferran Torres. Ferran Torres receives the ball by a pass from Lewandowski and just taps the ball inside of the net. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, this front three that we saw between Ferran Torres and Ansu and Lewandowski, I'm very interested to see what this front three could do in the very near future, because I think that if you compare this front three between Ferran Torres, Ansu, and Lewandowski, and you compare that to when Dembele and Rafinha are there with Lewandowski, I think that the front three that we saw in the last 20 minutes have much more of a passing capability. Their passing capabilities are really, really strong and can get towards those tight spaces. So again, there were a lot of things that I did like. Again, that team in the last 20 minutes, it is a team that I want to see go up against their next opponent on Thursday. So in the end, it is going to come down to Xavi Hernandez. It is his fault for Barcelona to lose 3-1, mainly because of the selection of players, because Xavi Hernandez could not get the best out of Dembele and Rafinha. They were just not performing at all. And I think it's time, right? I think it is time for Xavi Hernandez to change his team, just going based off what we did see. I want to see players like Busquets to take the step down, Dembele and Rafinha to get a rest, take that step down, and introduce players like Ferran Torres and Ansu Fati, something that again many of us did like, and for Jordi Alba to also take that step down and having Balde play a full 90-minute match. Real Madrid are on top of the table with a total of 3 points over FC Barcelona. Yes, Real Madrid have won this game, but the war is not over. I am so ready to welcome Real Madrid at the Camp Nou with our defense being fully reinforced, because I think that Barcelona do have what it takes to really win this league title. It is not over. I'm not really too frustrated off of this result because we still have a very long season ahead. So that is going to be wrapping up today's Barcelona post-match review. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new here, welcome to the channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys in the next video.